All right. Welcome, everyone. So happy to see you all this evening or this morning, depending on where you're at. So happy to be hosting today the Age of Brilliance Part 2, the 12 Facets of Brilliance, and the Hidden Miracles of Quantum Manifestation. So each letter of brilliance is a portal. Each facet has a frequency. And each one unlocks miracles waiting to be lived. So we're in for a very, very powerful transmission today. And we're going to be activating the brilliance within us, each of us. So, Mynoo, it's always an honor to host you. And I am delighted to be here. And I cannot wait to hear your transmission for the day. And anyone who has questions, please feel free to put that in the chat. And I will relay that to Mynoo and we'll get those answered. And with that, okay.
Thank you, Dea. And again, if there is something that is showing up for you, then feel free to interrupt. It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Yes, it's been a few days into the Age of Brilliance, and it's wonderful to have this opportunity, to learn about the new age as it is happening, as it is unfolding. Um, every time I'm at a point where, I'm really counting my blessings for having had the broken arm, because it has allowed me to have that space to allow all of these downloads to come in about what is occurring. And because of these downloads, I'm totally ready for the transmission, because sometimes I have to wait a certain time for the downloads to really assimilate within me before I can go ahead and do the transmission. But because I've had the space, then I'm able to do it as it is coming through, which is so important at this time. Because what it does is it brings, this whole entire 2025 and 2026 is all about a remembrance returning to each one of us, and so therefore, the sooner I start transmitting about what's going on, the faster that remembrance starts to get anchored within each one of us. And as our remembrance of what it is that our soul signed up for in our soul star when we were birthed, um, the faster we holographically amplify our own presence. It comes with its own little nuances in terms of when you start amplifying holographically what you're here for. Your holographic expansion is not just limited to the planet. It can go all the way up to your soul star. So sometimes people may feel a little bit, like uh, disconnected from their own physical bodies, or you may feel that you've got blurry eyes, or you may feel that there's some issues gone on with your hearing, or you may suddenly feel a little bit out of breath. It won't last. You'll come back to normal very, very quickly. And it's all a part of that holographic expansion that is taking place as our souls start to remember. So yes, it is a remembering. It is, and that remembering will sometimes feel like a revelation. And that revelation could reignite us, bring that vitality back. We are entering the age of brilliance. And the key thing here is your beingness is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity for you to remain anchored, centered in your core, strong in your core in this age of brilliance. This is where, Dea, your innate vibe is illumination. So you're very connected to your inner light. So here I'm talking to Dea, but actually it applies to all one of us. We are stardust. We all have our own innate light. And here, your light is not just welcomed, it is actually required. This new age of brilliance isn't just a performance. It's not what you do, it is who you be. And when you are operating from B, and we can see the B have book at the back here, then you can actually have what it is that you are here for. So and how does that occur? When you choose to be as your modus operandi, then you are free, you feel whole, and you can be truly you. So today's session is like a journey. It's a journey into the 12 facets of brilliance. Each letter, even in the word brilliance, and there are a couple of bonus letters, is like a portal. Each quality of what's in this portal of like a frequency. And remember one thing, as a human, your innate vibration is love. Love is also a frequency, and it's an amplifying frequency. So it's super exciting for me to be able to share this with us humans, because what each one does is it stations us, gives us that the realization of what it's like being in our presence as love, amplifying the quality of each letter, which is a portal. Each facet is the key that unlocks the miracles that are hidden in it and brings them up close and personal in plain sight. So, as I've been working through this, I haven't had as much time as I have had when I did the Pearls of Wisdom to be able to really work through each one and look at my own life. I've done some of it, but not as much. So, let's see what chooses to be transmitted today. The first facet is beingness. And beingness is, and the amazing thing is, so I've been playing this the bee lifestyle game with a few of my colleagues and other clients, which Sarah and I co-created actually when the first bee book came out. For 7 days, each day we would choose a bee word and we would describe what that state was, and then we would share what emerged from that. And often, whenever we would take it on, we would go on a 7 day fast. So our bodies were really connected to being. So, as this, given that beingness is the first portal, where does it transport us to? The beingness portal transports us to presence. And when you are present to your own presence, who are you being? You are being the creator, and you are in this human form. So, your creator energy is being amplified. And what's that miracle that's hidden in here? You literally drop the masks of somehow somebody else creating circumstances for for you to react to, and therefore your life experiences being at the beck and call and at the hand of other people or circumstances. That's the mask you drop when you are being. You embrace your essence. When you embrace your essence, given that we are in the age of brilliance, and where it's coming from is a direct connection to when you were birthed as a soul in your soul star, you experience time bending. I talked about this last time. And therefore, resources appear that you couldn't even have ordered to the universe. And you become a magnet, and you become magnetic. Now, the first portal, the first facet, which is the portal, is beingness. Really, what it's doing is it's getting you plugged into your authenticity, and that's the quantum manifestation trigger. Authenticity. Authenticity, why is it a quantum manifestation trigger? It is a quantum manifestation trigger because authenticity dissolves resistance. And like I talked about in when I talked about the switch from the dark age to the age of brilliance last week, you heard me say that resistance is futile. And there will be people resisting because it'll all feel so different. Like um, only a few days ago, the chairman of the World Economic Forum resigned. He was the founder of the World Economic Forum. These are all evidences that something big has already shifted for these changes to start taking hold in such a way that serious action is being taken on the ground. It's not just ripple effect. Waves of change are spreading. Being is actually the shortest path to becoming. So when I took this for myself, I thought, okay, and I've been doing this the B plan for the last several months now, nearly 3 months. And we can actually play the game even in the Beyond Meditation group, choose our B word, just so that we start getting up close and personal to the be in, um, and therefore beingness. So when I took it on for myself, I do remember before I had the accident, I do remember thinking, the only time I feel that I'm being fully present to my presence is when I'm on a flight. And then nothing and no one disturbs me. I'm like in my space because I was traveling so much and I was with so many people all the time that I was being present, but not necessarily anchored in my own presence. I was present to the people that I was with. I was present to what it is that I was about to deliver. But the beingness, which is being present to my own presence, was only occurring in the flights. And I was thinking, well, how do I make that happen so I can actually have it, even when I'm at home or by myself? But there wasn't that much time for me to be by myself, you know? And I knew what was occurring. There was a sense of urgency. I could feel the vibe, that some big stuff I needed to really just release and let go. And there were a couple of major blocks that were present in my business field, which I didn't have the time. They were just nuisance factors. I didn't have a time personally to deal with it. And yet they were very present and they were causing stuckness. But I'm also the one who's like creating the content and delivering it. So it was like other members of the team will need to handle this. But actually, when push came to shove, it what panned out ultimately after I broke my arm, and then suddenly I had to enter this realm of beingness. I mean, the amazing thing is that when the arm broke, it just so happened my sister was in town and she was going to be in town for the next several months. And she'd got herself a housekeeper who's a trained caregiver. My sister immediately said, come, move to my place and we will take care of it. That when I wrote the B book, I wrote it at Vibha's place, my sister's place. That's where it all came through. And there I was, starting my journey of beingness at her place. And what occurred? I literally connected to the presence of my own presence. It was truly an amazing gift. And it was in that space that I realized, first of all, that the spring equinox was a huge date. It wasn't just any equinox. I could feel it, but I didn't know the significance of it. And when the transmission came in that this was the end and the age of Aquarius was beginning, and the role of different planetary uh, activity, how that was going to pan out. First, there was a bit of nervousness, and then I realized, it was Saturn interrupt that supported my fall. And it was so perfectly orchestrated. I could have broken my shoulder. I could have broken my elbow. I didn't. I broke the humerus. And I broke it right up here, so they couldn't put me in a plaster cast. So I had to be in a sling, which was great because with the plaster cast, I would have come out of it with a frozen shoulder and all sorts of stuff. Whereas here, the moment the repair work started, I was able to keep my shoulders moving exactly as the doctor had prescribed. I also developed a very healthy respect for the medical profession, and understood the value of merge medicine, understood the value of collaborative co creation, of coexistence, may require merging certain aspects. It isn't either or, it isn't us and them. And it doesn't matter if people around me are resisting. They're completely free to have their point of view, but it doesn't have to become mine until I choose for it to be. And I don't have to necessarily correct everyone. We will all have different pathways to brilliance. And I'm sure one of the sessions will be about pathways to brilliance. And I started reconnecting to what was truly authentic about me in this human form. Because until I accept the authenticity of this human form, my expression will not be able to flow through authentically. Like when I started engaging with what is authentic about me, and how does it feel when I'm being that way? And that's when I noticed a very interesting dissolving taking place. And I also noticed that I had a degree of stubbornness about being right about certain things, even if it was, being right about being a vegetarian. It doesn't matter. The point is, holding on to this resistance vibe actually just attracts resistance and pushes you in the direction of fixing and takes you away from the flourishing triad. And it's the pace with which the age of brilliance is anchoring means any long processes really don't have any foundation anymore. You will either feel very, very distracted if you go on some long winded process. So, dissolving is an important part of this journey, particularly now. Now, what Saturn did was, interrupted it, gave me that little bit of that blow. And it was, it wasn't a hairline fracture, it was a real fracture. So and I just completed the Human Miracle series. We just done the vagus nerve work. I was working with the vagus nerve every single day. I also brought in the way I was eating, using many of the Human Miracle work. I worked with the microbiome, activating them through my diet. And I worked with the nano muscle fibers because the big muscle fibers were any movement there was difficult. And I decided to really work with the elements, all of those things we had just learned in the last year through the Human Miracle series. It wouldn't even have occurred to me to reconnect to the nuances of those things if I hadn't interrupted in this amazing way. And therefore, what I did was I worked on managing my inflammation from inside. I realized that the pain that was there in the early part was because my cells internally were inflamed, protecting my body, enabling it to heal. But once the inflammation was gone, and it only took a few days, I didn't have the pain and the healing was still continuing. I also saw the magic of sunlight, actually. And those two pieces that actually were a real nuisance factors in my business, it's as if I woke up one morning and I just knew exactly how to deal with them. And I just went ahead and dealt with it. I've had 2.5 years of one party in one of my businesses, absolutely, ghosting everyone. And it completely turned around as if nothing had happened previously. And certain difficult decisions needed to be made, and we made them together. It's as if not only did resistance dissolve in me, it dissolved in the other party as well. I saw the difference between manifestation and quantum manifestation. We'll be talking more about that in some of the sessions. I'm sure there will be at least one session which will have a lot of quantum manifestation. And I became so present to it is about being. Being is what enables you to have. Because you can accomplish a success doesn't mean you have what it is that you truly desire or want. It is a milestone. Success, the way you define it, is a milestone. And it has a consequence, which is what gives you your experience of life. I call it your experience of aliveness. I can spend the whole session just on be, but that's the first facet to get. And it is a portal that enables you to have whatever it is that you want. And it began for me by understanding what what is authentic about me. That opened the doorway to many, many things that have played out over the last few weeks. I also really loved, you know, that being is the shortest path to becoming who you declare yourself to be. The second facet is radiance, the R, radiance. Radiance is the expression of your beingness. When you are being authentic, you radiate. You radiate authenticity. And that's why I love the idea of choosing a B word. You choose a B word, then there is a quality that is received by people that you interact with. So, what happens when you are radiating? What's different there is that your light, it doesn't just shine, it actually activates. You become an activator. And if you are plugged into the cause that you're a stand for, you are activating the realization of that cause. And in this age of brilliance, how these causes are being manifested is through healing that which may prevent you from activating what you are a stand for. Now, when you show up this way, what it does is it awakens others into their own brilliance. Now, what is actually happening? And this is the quantum manifestation trigger from this. The quantum manifestation trigger is that when you are in this space of being radiant, radiance reframes reality. Because you become an activator and you're now awakening others into their own brilliance, you become a beacon of synchronicity. And who is the first person to benefit from synchronicity? You are. I mean, I have had such phenomenal synchronistic moments in the last 2 weeks, last 3 weeks. You know, my son has a one of the things that they do is they work with authors or people who would like to be authors, enabling them to create their books, and then they publish them. And they also have a very good team and about 28 different um, co-promoters that support the books to become bestsellers. So I am like their case study because they've done it with me now 3 times. So they often bring me in to do to their. My son often brings me in when he does his webinar on this. So I was at one of these webinars, and because there were these time zone changes, I'm talking about you become a beacon for synchronicity. Because there were these time zone changes, then some people had got it that the time had changed. Others were joined an hour later. Normally, there are two to 300 people that are there. This time, there were 20 people that were there when we started. And however, we had announced it, so we were going to continue. And it took a while for us to realize that it was a time zone issue. However, there were 20 people. And in the chat, I get a message from one of them saying, you know, I feel just listening to your story, and I've gone online and read a few chapters of your book. I would really love to connect you to this particular person. And just for confidentiality purposes, I can't give the name to this particular person who I believe would love to collaborate with you. And I'm like, when I look at my dream boards and vision boards and stuff going far, far back from my, when I was in mid 30s, early 40s, this person has featured on my vision board from then. And I've just not had a way and not had an in at all into that person. And it's super exciting. So this guy's, and so he sends me a private message. Now, in the past, there are 300, 400 people online. Private messages come, but we have a team that looks at private messages. And of course, if there is a message privately directed at me, there's so much going on in the chat that it disappears. I just don't even get a chance to read it. Now there were only 20, so I do get a chance to read it. So I like message him back saying, "You talking about this person?" And he said, "Yes." And he then gave me an explanation of why he felt my story would resonate strongly. I said, "Okay, how do you want to move forward?" Now, I would not have had any opportunity to do any of that. I do believe that time zone kerfuffle happened just to enable the synchronicity to take place. So then we decided to have a call, and now that relationship is moving forward. And I realized, as I was preparing for our session today, that it is the radiance portal. And I stepped across the threshold and activated and healed whatever it is that was in me that would prevent me from showing up and radiating so that I'm seen. I realized what it means to become a beacon for synchronicity. Because you may have synchronistic occurrences, and when you are a beacon, you actually magnetize them. And it reframed my reality into a knowingness. I mean, now I don't have a process that I need to go through from data to information to knowledge to wisdom to knowing. I can go straight from data to knowing. And it's not just me, everyone can do that because that you're activating that knowingness. That where does knowingness come from? It comes from you being stationed in your soul essence. Dea, shall I continue?
Yeah, this is amazing. I just wanted to say one thing. All I can say is that as I have been aging and evolving, being more authentic and dropping all the masks and allowing the radiance to come through, life just keeps getting better and better. So that's what I wanted to share. So I just love continuing to do this work and uncover more. And thank you. You still have like a lot of letters to go, so I will let you go.
Like, I'm thinking maybe there may be two sessions on this. We're only on letter three.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I is number three, which is intuition. And actually, I'm leading into this where I'm talking about even a slightest whisper that actually it resonates with your authenticity, instantly steps into a knowing, becomes a knowing. You don't have to go through a major process. And remember how the process of getting from data to knowing is data, you process it, it becomes information, you start, planning how you're going to work with it. It starts to become knowledge. You start implementing the knowledge, it starts to become wisdom. And then you keep implementing until it becomes a knowing. Here I'm saying even a whisper, which could be like a little, dust of data, if it is in line with your radiance, with your brilliance, with your authenticity, it becomes annoying. And you know it because at an intuitive level, you'll get, yes, this is for me. And that knowing becomes the portal to the extraordinary. That's the miracle in intuition. Extraordinary is a very important word. The ordinary aspect in extraordinary keeps you relatable. And you don't become completely euphoric. You remain grounded and stationed. And it gives you that little bit of extra. And because it's coming from a realm of knowing, and it's connected to you being stationed in authenticity, presencing your presence, brilliance is how you show up. Brilliance is what you activate in others. I mean, what I'm noticing about this, by the way, and this is a little bit of something for us to work on, because this happens so fast for everyone. You may experience people becoming impatient around you. I'm certainly feeling impatient. And the thing that is keeping me centered, you know, and I'm actually welcoming this slowdown because of this arm, like I can't even just stand up, you know. I have to say, okay, I'm now going to stand up. Everything is going to go with me. So I give my elbow a little bit of support and I'm able to stand up, right? Even that could have been annoying in the past. But now I know that it's really getting me to stay in my presence. There's no rush, there's no need to go anywhere. you know Chopping any vegetable is like a whole plan that I go through, learning to appreciate how our fingers work. But it allows me to stay plugged into my intuition. Intuitively. And what I'm also seeing, like I think I shared in one of my previous sessions, that my guidance was to move into an 8 apartment. So I'm in 701, and an apartment which doesn't allow for too much entertaining. Doesn't mean I won't necessarily entertain, but I just won't be necessarily doing it in my apartment, which in some ways has been pretty awesome because I feel that my apartment has become like a temple. I've only been here, even though I've moved here since the 20th of March, I've only really been here this last week. It is truly a temple of knowing. The few people that have come here to visit me or to help me set up, they all, experience this realm of knowing. And the thing that is exciting about operating from a knowingness, it's a portal to the extraordinary. Why is it? Because it is the knowingness that keeps you stationed in your soul presence. But your soul isn't escaping from the human form. It is actually welcoming the human form as its expression. Knowing being a portal to the extraordinary, every word counts. I could have chosen anything. I'm choosing extraordinary. Ordinary is very much a part of extraordinary. So you are stationed in your center, you're grounded, you're relatable, and you are amplifying in your brilliance. What's the quantum manifestation trigger when you operate in this way from your intuition? Intuition is what collapses timelines. Without you judging them, and you're free, unleashed, and in grace and gratitude, leaping ahead. So the more you are connected to what you declare as your calling in this lifetime, you leap towards that. If you don't have clarity on that, that's also fine. Aliveness is what it is all about. And when you get us keep bringing yourself into a realm of experiencing aliveness, you start living the life you love. And then you'll be able to define in words that are understood by everyone what it is that you are a stand for. So that's what this particular facet is about: collapsing timelines, enabling you to leap. Sometimes when we start leaping, there's a guilt and shame and all that comes with it. Whereas here, there is just pure presence of love. When you are in that presence of love, you are owning your presence as a human. You are in a state of grace. And when you are in presencing yourself as a human in a state of grace, love is continuing to amplify that. You are present to the quantum of grace and gratitude that you're blessed with. So, what does that trigger? Triggers generosity. And generosity at the core is spiritedness. So, you will remain plugged into your own spiritedness. That's the magic of this one. The next one, the next facet is love, love unleashed. And that's what I'm talking about here. When you station yourself as a human, own your presence as a human, you are present to your own presence, plugged into your intuition, radiating your light, activating, and healing is occurring naturally. Love starts to reveal the nuances of the frequency that you're born with as a human. There are no conditions to love. It simply is. It is the ultimate frequency hack. And it's a frequency hack that reprograms the field. And what happens when the field is reprogrammed? That is where the domino effect of the world transforming takes place. The combination of Neptune and Saturn, plays out. Neptune bringing out the intuitive spiritual aspect of you, Saturn bringing structure and authenticity in play, and you develop the courage with the strength of Uranus, being able to revolt without having to be against anything, but simply being for what you declare you're a stand for. What's the quantum manifestation trigger when love is unleashed? Love is the magnetizer. It magnetizes miracles. How does it do that? You remember from the 10 commandments of the New World? One of them is an upleveling from alignment to flow to coherence. Love magnetizes miracles because it is a hack to coherence in chaos. There is a huge amount of chaos that is that is playing out in the 3D. And we can get into the isness of that, but it isn't. It's something that is playing out. Not everybody is in chaos. And you will still find yourself in a state of coherence. That is what Love Unleashed does. And I mean, I had this very sweet experience on Sunday. So we went out. We have Sunday is family day. So, like whatever is going on, we always get together as a family. So here we go out, and I'm with my grandkids and son and daughter-in-law, and we go to the finance district, and we are in a restaurant because on the weekends it is completely empty. So it's quite a nice place for us to just hang out. And I wanted to use the bathroom. My youngest one, the 4-year-old Emilio, says, Minoma, I will take you because I know where the toilet is and I will look after you. Okay. So I go with him and we get there and he's standing outside. He says, I don't have a problem standing alone. I'm okay. You go in. And I say to him that, listen, I'm not comfortable with you standing alone. You either come into the bathroom or you go to your mom. And he says, but I'm a boy and this is a girl's toilet, but I am a child, so I guess I can come in. I'm like, wow, this kid is like amazing. I can't even imagine this 4-year-old talking so much. So he comes in and then there's the cleaner in the bathroom. She's there. So he tells her, I know I'm a boy, but I'm a child. So a child is allowed to come here. I'm here because I'm looking after my Minu. Okay. And then he says, I think this toilet will be good. It is big. So you can go in and it won't hurt your arm. So I go in. And then he says, I'm standing out. Don't close the door from inside. I won't let anybody in. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Here I am thinking, last 3 weeks, I've hardly spent time with the kids. And I was experiencing this love unleashed happening around me, you know? And such an amazing stationing in coherence this child displayed. And we have not had any elderly parents or anybody that they would have seen anybody else do what he was doing with me. So it was like it was coming from his own connection to whatever it is that he felt within him to do. So this experience of unconditionalness of love. The most important thing for us to remember as humans is you are love. I am love in this human form. One of the things that can happen in this age of brilliance is because you will be connected to your soul star. You will be operating from a soul essence. So you may from time to time feel not even want to come back into this human body with if there is another, like, chaotic event that takes place anywhere. You may like, what? Why am I even wanting to be there? All you have to do is remember the human form is the sweetest form of aliveness because it unleashes, it amplifies. And when you are connected to your beingness and you are being brilliant in the way I'm talking you through, then having that amplified is the most amazing experience that you can ever have. It is the perfect anti-aging, technique. And you know what happens when you feel loved. You feel loved when you are loved. That's the magnetic activation of miracles. That is the coherence in chaos that love unleashed enables. Let's look at the next one. The next facet is listening. I call it deep listening, like listening for what is actually being communicated, not just what's being spoken or what you're hearing. What's actually being communicated? In your deep listening, you will uncover reality as it communicates with you. You will hear guidance that is encoded in every moment. Deep listening. Guidance encoded in every moment. You have access to that when you are presencing your presence. I mean, that it was this listening deeply, or deep listening, is what gave me an understanding that the cause of pain, the fracture was the fracture, the bone itself has no pain. It's the nerves that get agitated, and that is what cause, even muscles don't cause pain. It's the nerves that are the receptor and communicator of pain. So if I release any inflammation and give my body the space and the chance to heal itself without having to be inflamed to prevent movement, I can actually get rid of pain without any medication. Because when I listened deeply, I literally saw the inflammation of the muscles and nanomuscle fibers that were pressing against various nerve points. That is what was causing the pain. So this is the quantum manifestation trigger in listening. Listening unveils an invisible pathways that you couldn't possibly have imagined. As a result, what happens? Answers arrive before questions form. So in my mind, when I talked about, this particular person who had featured on my vision board for decades, and lo and behold, due to a time zone glitch, I connected with someone who is um, uh, has a direct connection to this vision board person. So in the past, to get to that person, I was working with some very accomplished PR consultants. They were not able to get there at all because that's what I knew as a pathway. But when I started operating in this age of brilliance, following some of the stuff that I'm just sharing, invisible pathways opened up, answers arrived. And now I've learned the power of good questions. to be able to relate those answers to everyone. Let's go to the next one. The next facet is imagination, activation of imagination, imagination activated. So here's what is occurring. The miracle of this facet, the portal that this facet is for, is your inner visionary is awakening. Who is your inner visionary? Your inner visionary is awakening, and it's remembering that it it is the creator. We, each one of us, our speck of consciousness, our souls were birthed as parts of the creator. So we are the creator. So as your inner visionary awakens, you remember that you are a creator, and you awaken to the fact that you co-create worlds not yet seen, but within you they already are real. They are real in the vision. They are you and I, the VAC process that we do. And we've been doing it for years. This is what it's doing. It's activating imagination and anchoring it in your reality. And everything that I've talked about already and that I'm going to talk about basically means that the frequency attunement takes place with that reality. Beingness is the key to have, because beingness attunes you to the reality of that which you wish to have. You become the co-creator of this world. It becomes real. And the quantum manifestation trigger within this particular facet, this portal, is imagination really is the architect of that which we call as miracles. Imagination is the bridge to that which we may envision as impossible. And when you are stationed in coherence amidst chaos, we can imagine. We can imagine a new world into being. And that is really what the divine is looking for at this time, for the age of brilliance to be accelerated into a level of momentum before we even get to 2026. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. This 64-part series is to be able to enable that. Let's go to the next facet. The next facet is alignment. It's a very 3D element here. Alignment. Alignment between, we do this practice in Beyond Meditation, your mind brain, heart brain, gut brain. Your mind brain is the one that directs your actions. And the actions are directed through your thoughts. Heart presences the consequence of those actions. So you become present to the consequence of your choices. And the gut is the intuitive rocket fuel. So when your thoughts, your heart, and how these actions pan out align, coming from a space of coherence, you become a superconductor of flow. Flow for me is an acronym of flourishing leader of the world, creating a flourishing world. That's the miracle that happens. No major training or qualification required here. I mean, this little Emilio was completely acting from his heart, communicating his thoughts and taking actions completely consistent with all of that. And I felt that complete unconditional love from him. He was a superconductor of flow, totally being a flourishing leader. And what this did for me is that the more I looked into it, I've done quite a lot of work around several of these, not as much as I have done in the Pearls of Wisdom, because these downloads are quite current. I've seen so much magic in my life and such richness that I've experienced over the years. And it's not just relegated to me. If you were to look at your own life, and if you were to examine where your thoughts, heart, and actions were aligned, what occurred, you will realize you're quite a manifester. The quantum manifestation trigger is that alignment is what shortcuts effort. And in shortcutting the effort, what happens is the universe moves with you because there are no undertones. Sometimes we say, oh, we are asking and something else is happening, but because there is a conflict that you're communicating to the universe. So it looks as if the universe is working against you. It isn't. It moves with you. It is always moving with you, but your conscious awareness and your subconscious is completely aligned. And that is the quantum manifestation trigger that shortcuts effort, and manifestations abound. We have 2 minutes left, let's say. Today I'm just going to carry on. So the next facet is nowness. I talk about the heart presencing in the now. In the now, there is only miracles. There is no past, there is no future, there is only what is. Doubts disappear. The present becomes pregnant with possibilities. That's what the being in the now does. There's a very interesting statement that Elio, my older grandson, who's now 7, was telling his cousin the other day. He goes, they were talking about the future. She was talking about the future. And he says, you know, the, the thing about the future is you can't have a future if you don't have a past. And the problem with the past is it has too much baggage. So it makes you heavy and you can't go towards your future. I'm like, oh my God. So then I said, so what do we do now? We just have fun. We just play, he says. And then they went, started playing. And I'm like, my God, what a wonderful thing. I mean, this is where the statement of, the present becomes pregnant with possibility. Why wouldn't you just simply be in the moment and play? Because lack dissolves. It's in the lack that we have the presence of doubt. The quantum manifestation trigger that we have here is now is the power zone. It is where all manifestation happens. This is the power zone. Manifestation and miracles go together. And it is so personal. Each one of us has our own now. Now is that moment of power. You okay for me to continue for another 5 minutes? If you have to leave, leave. But if you're okay, then I will continue.
Please continue, Mynoo.
Okay. So the next facet is the C, which is courage. So I was like, okay, what is this courage thing? There's a whole big definition of it, courage, in the dictionary, and yet it is a vibe actually. And every vibration is a frequency, and every frequency has a natural match to that frequency. So what is courage? Courage is the permission slip, if you like, for our destiny. What is our destiny? Our destiny is becoming one with our soul being. And then in that harmony, expressing the fullness of our being in this human form. Every act of courage, you could even call it an act of bravery, what it does is it opens a vault of blessings. And what happens when you count your blessings? You land in a state of bliss. I went back. I was like so excited when I got this. I did literally went back last 2 years, my moments of courage, because I wanted to open up all these vaults of blessings that I've experienced. You have a weekend coming up. Do this, unlocking the vaults of blessings by anchoring these moments of courage that you have experienced. Courage is again very, very personal. You know when you know the acts of bravery that you have taken on. Go ahead, count them. And every time you count them, you are unlocking this vault of blessings, and you start counting your blessings, and you are experiencing bliss. Quantum manifestation trigger is that courage unlocks doors that logic cannot. It is courage that births quantum shifts, and it does so because of this opening of the vault of blessings. Each of these facets make up the whole vibe of brilliance. I'm talking about the age of brilliance. You can imagine each of these is available to us in infinite amounts, as much as we want, and it's entirely down to us. The next facet is embodiment. When you embody brilliance, you become the transmission. Your word gives you your world. You no longer chase, the chase stops. You radiate. You come from that knowingness. You become the embodiment of that which you are here to cause. The quantum manifestation trigger of embodiment is embodiment anchors the dreams into reality. You become the miracle in this flesh and bones. And that harmony between your soul presence and human form is unequivocal for everyone to experience and for you to see. There are two of these other hidden facets, which are not necessarily in the letters of brilliance, but I'm going to talk about them because they make up the 12 facets. This one is surrender. Surrender is not giving up. Surrender, in fact, is giving in to a greater intelligence. And this greater intelligence is hidden in the gift of life, which we are blessed with. And it is giving in to this greater intelligence that provides that inner motivation to live our life and come alive. The quantum manifestation trigger that is here is surrender clears all interference. You have an unequivocal flow of yumminess as you choose to live your life. What is truly yours finds you, and it finds you fast. You don't have to chase after anything. Surrender is giving in to that greater intelligence of life. Your higher self very comfortably stations itself in your physical being. The final 12th facet is trust. And you've already heard me say the age of brilliance, the innate vibrational frequency is trust. Trust. What's the miracle of trust? It transmutes fear, false expectations appearing real. It transmutes fear into fuel. When you trust, you make a declaration, you put a stake in the ground, You tap into that divine algorithm that has been created specifically for you as you play out living in this human form. The quantum manifestation trigger within trust is it collapses doubt. Collapses doubt. And the quantum aspect of manifestation, it responds, keeps you bonded with your soul presence, and miracles abound, miracles are ground, miracles manifest anywhere and everywhere that you look. In brilliance, in summary, brilliance is your natural state. It is encoded in your soul. It is ignited by your truth. It is sustained by your presence. It is made real through your choice to shine. It is not the time anymore to dim, delay, or defer. It is the time to be brilliant, boldly, wildly, fully. The universe is not waiting for perfection. Perfection lies in embracing imperfection. It's waiting for your realness, your radiance, your readiness. So, my invitation to you now is, will you say yes to your brilliance? Will you allow the hidden miracles to reveal themselves through you? Will you lead, live, and love from this frequency starting right now? You have everything going for you. The age of brilliance is here. Each of these facets is a portal in itself, and you are the portal for your miracles. You are the portal for your own transmission of that which enables you to create a flourishing world of aliveness, living the life that you love. Over to you, dear.
Well, you asked the question. My answer is yes, absolutely, 1,000%. I'll step into my brilliance. And boy, today was so full of jewels and gems, and I'm going to have to go through it all. But all I know is that it just keeps getting better with the embodiment. And the last two, surrender and trust, I'm really into that, surrendering and trusting, because I think that those two key things, just allowing it just to be what it is so important. And then also just it was so rich, enriching, and full, Mynoo, and I could go on too, but I won't. You summed it up beautifully.
You.
Thank you so much
I'm
for,
really loving this experience.
yeah,
Make it real. It is
yeah,
its reality. You make it real with conscious awareness.
that's
Thank you. Thank you,
thank
everyone. I
you,
declare. Yes, got it, David. I like it.
yeah,
All your posters are going to come in handy at this time. Yeah.
that's so good.
Very cool. Very
Great.
cool. Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Mynoo.
Welcome.